All right. What's going on, everybody? It is your main man, Big Ive, the talk of the town, Mr. DETVCH.com. And I'm here with the man, I can't say the myth, but the man, the living legend, Donald Morton. Pastor Donald Morton.
Yeah, man. But Donald Morton's fine. You and I got history.
That we do. That we
absolutely.
do. How's everything been, man?
Everything is incredible, man. I'm in an incredible ride and wave. So I don't have anything to complain about at all.
Good.
All is well.
Good. All is well,
yes,
man.
Sir.
So if you don't know Donald Morton is a phenomenal speaker, a phenomenal pastor. I've been following you since when I was like 12?
Yes, sir. Don't date me, though. yeah, about 12.
About 12 years old.
Yeah.
And is one thing that I do love about you is how just transparent you are.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I appreciate that. So if you don't know Donald Morton has a new project that he's working on, and it is something that's real empowering for men called Remand.
Yes, sir.
For the people who don't know, first of all, your logo's hot as hell.
Oh, thank you, man.
Look hot. Your logo's mean, man. I love your logo. Man. I love your logo. So what's Remand?
Remand is an attempt to improve the quality of life of individuals, families, and societies through accurately reconstructing authentic manhood.
Okay.
That's a way of saying that we have departed as a society from the value that we place in male leadership, male participation, and otherwise.
Okay.
So the Remand Project is designed to teach responsibility to a group of men who are highly motivated to do better in their lives and simply don't have the tools.
You said teach responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's that about?
We did a lot of research before we launched the project, right? And one of the prevailing and pervasive thoughts, particularly from women, were that men really have become irresponsible.
That's
right?
true. I can see that.
Yeah, I can as well. That we've become irresponsible. There are many men on the couch. There are many men playing PlayStation, right? And I'm not against those things,
right,
as long as we understand where our priorities lie.
Okay.
So as a society, every social ill that the federal government traces has been found to emerge from either a missing or a malfunctioning or a mute male.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So if we are then to fix society, it begins with fixing men.
Right.
Right? So the Remand Project is an attempt to make sure that we give and resource men as best we possibly can, to teach them character, to teach them responsibility, particularly because we're in a society where our fathers are absent, right? And because they're absent, someone has got to take the responsibility of making sure that men are valued and men are resourced.
Right. So in coming up with this idea, Remand, was there a point in your life that you were broken, that you had to be put back together, that you had to be remanded?
Yeah, it's a pretty deep story too, Ive. As many people know, I was raised by my mom.
Shout out to the
bishop.
To
right?
the bishop.
I was raised by my mom, and my mom was a phenomenal parent.
Right.
But there are some things that my mother could not give me. Right. And so those things were to come from my father. My father was in the house for a good period of time, probably up until I was maybe 9 years old, before they split. He moves to California. She stays here. She raises me. And they decide at some point to get their acts together. They're going to reconcile.
Right.
But my dad dies before my mother and father get back together.
Wow.
So the next time I actually see my father, he's in a box in front of the church, right? And everybody's questioning why I'm not tearing up. I'm not crying. Everybody's saying, man, it's okay to cry.
Right.
I'm angry.
Right.
Because all of the things that I felt like I should have gotten from him, I did not get from him. And he had enough foresight, though, to write a letter to my mother and tell my mom. I don't know whether he had a premonition that he was going to die. I really don't.
Right.
But he wrote a letter to my mother saying, tell my son I loved him. I simply did not know how to father him.
Wow.
Right? That's
major, man.
Yeah, that's a major issue.
That's a major thing right there.
Yeah.
And I that happened to me too. Like with my son, like I don't know how to be a dad. My dad, shout out to Joe, he did the best he could.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean, with the situations that he had.
Yes, sir.
And when I got older, I found out I looked back and was like, oh shoot, I'm doing the same thing that my father did. And I had to, tell my son like, oh, I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And so there are a lot of fatherhood programs, right?
Right.
But what we found is that we are trying to teach men to be fathers before we teach them to be men.
Damn.
Right?
Right.
So part of what happens with that is there's a growing frustration with whether fathers are present, whether or not they know how to raise to the point that we're making, whether or not they know how to raise their children. And the truth is, unless you teach manhood before fatherhood, you're going to have major problems.
But isn't that Donald the father's job to teach that, and then the father is displaced by whatever reason is not there?
Yes.
Then what are we left to? Our own vices.
Right. We are. We're left to our own vices, and the danger though in that is we're living in a society that is preparing itself for a maleless presence. Right?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
So rather than think that there is a way for men to emerge again as leaders, as people of character and discipline, and by the way, there are a lot of good dudes out here.
Yeah,
so I don't ever want to suggest that there aren't any good men, because that's the narrative that is being displayed now.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good brothers. The truth is that we are living in a society where society is preparing itself for the absence of a man.
But and when you say that, Donald, is that like what you see versus in the media, the music, commercials?
Yes.
You see that the black father
is gone.
Is missing out of all of this.
Right. And so what that means, though, is that the media perpetuates a narrative that really exists.
Right.
So it exacerbates it, but it really does exist.
Right.
So there are a lot of fatherhood programs, a lot of youth programs. No programs exist for the adult male. So for example, the greatest asset, and shout out to your wife, right? That's my girl. I love your wife. But the greatest asset and the X factor in your house is you.
Right.
Right? And it's because all of the statistics will tell you that poverty rises, suicide rises, dropouts rise, incarceration rises whenever a male is not home. Right. So we can talk about gun programs, we can talk about all of those things, but nobody wants to talk about the one who pulls the trigger, the one who brings the knife, the one who's making the argument. It's a malfunctioning male that is doing that.
Right.
And until you fix him, you don't fix any of the other stuff that's around.
Now, so it sounds to me that you have a lot of fixing to do. Because
Absolutely.
when you start looking at even the government alone, the what they put in place to get rid of the black male, the father from the house, and now we're 50 years later, 30 years later, whatever the numbers are. Now we're talking about how to be a man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you got your work ahead of you.
Yeah, and I'm up to the task. I met with one of my friends, Leroy Tice.
Oh, shout out to Leroy.
I met with Leroy. He's my attorney, and he's also a friend.
Yeah.
And I told him what we were doing, and he said, "Yeah, that won't happen in your lifetime." That's right. So, and we're fully aware of the fact that I will die with this mission still in execution.
Right.
But somebody's got to do it.
Right. No, I understand.
If a child who goes to the POW or goes to the Boys and Girls Club or wherever they go, right?
Right.
They go to school. They go to all these different spaces to learn and to grow and to develop. that child's got to go home at some point.
Right.
Right. And if you don't address the environment in which that child is forced to live, then you're still missing the element that is necessary for that child to grow, develop, and flourish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have found that the strength of every nation is determined by the male population. That doesn't mean that we don't need women. We absolutely need women. But it is to say that the one marginalized group now is men, and men of color in particular.
Yeah.
Remember when, to your point earlier, when Clinton was in office, right? In order for a sister to get help from the government, she had to put the male out.
Right.
It was necessary for him to be absent in order for her to get any assistance, right? So that wasn't the beginning of the male's absence. The truth is, African-American males in particular have been removed from the family since the enslavement of Africans coming into this country.
Right.
One of the first things that they did was remove the man from the family, separate him from the family so that the family functioned without him.
Yeah.
So we've got to address the very real issue of the new marginalized in our country, and the new marginalized not just in our country but around the world in growing numbers is the absence of male presence.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you're the man up for the task for it, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate the love that you have for men.
Yes, sir.
You know, so when you're saying we,
yes.
Who's we?
All of us. So the Remand Project in particular, right, has this mandate on it to make sure that we are addressing this particular issue. But it's going to take all of us. It's going to take you and in every sphere of influence that you and I have in order to address this particular issue. So there's nobody left out. And the truth is, ladies are involved too.
Okay.
Right? Because in very large numbers, women are raising young men.
Yeah.
And I've got to somehow convince them that if you want a well-rounded young man, you must include his dad.
Yeah.
He's got to be around.
Oh man, good luck with that.
Yeah, right, right. So but if we shift the focus off of the love or dislike, the like or dislike for your ex to what is best for your child, the statistics and research are clear. What's best for your child is a man that knows what to do. So we do know that there are many men or males who are fathers that don't know what to do. You and I just kind of touted our dads with regard to that. Yeah. But what if we could resource him? What if we could teach him? What if we could train him?
Right.
What if we developed character with him and a sense of responsibility with him? Would you then invite him to participate in your child's life? And if so, then why would you not want your main priority to be making sure that that young man's father is strong so that he can participate in his child's life?
No, I get it. I'm with you 100%. I think it's something that, I know it's something that we as black men need, you know. Let me ask you, like, in this project, the Remand Project, is it broken down to like how to deal with relationships, how to deal like what's the your curriculum, if you will?
That's a good question, man. So there are phases to manhood. We've developed phases to manhood. There is the personal man. How do I deal with myself? Before I engage in a relationship with anybody, what does my personal life look like? Is my finances together? You know, is my credit together? What's my health look like? Am I emotionally sound? Right. So let's deal with those things. What is my relationship like with God? So let's deal with those things. And then we talk about the family man. You know, what does he look like with regard to his significant other? I happen to believe that marriage is God's best. I believe it's God's best, and I think it's best for society, right? We are departing from that a bit, though, and everybody's living together now. And more than it's a moral issue, I think it's a stability issue. And so what we're talking about is moving a man from getting his personal life together to getting his familial life together, and then ultimately teaching him that he's got a responsibility to the overall society, right? So but we can't get to the society man before we address the personal man.
Okay.
Let me tell you what happens with that. As many of our listeners and viewers know, I was caught up in a major scandal, right? I was caught in a major scandal, and it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's because Ivan, after I look back over it, I don't have. It's not the women.
Right.
It's not their fault. It's not my ex's fault. It was my fault. It was me taking personal responsibility for the dumb stuff I was doing.
That's the word right there.
Yes.
Responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Right. So with that, what I've seen over the years that men that we don't take. Like,
that's right.
The moment I started taking responsibility for what Ivan did is the moment that everything changed.
Absolutely right.
You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, continue.
No, that's a powerful point. So here's the definition of a man. The definition of a man, and then I'll get back to the story.
Okay.
The definition of a man is a male who consistently demonstrates a comprehensive accountability to God and a responsibility for himself, his family, his society. We use personal pronouns like that because personal pronouns breed responsibility.
Right.
It's my life, it's my family, it's my society. And if anyone is going to do something about my life, it's going to be me.
Right.
If anyone's going to help my family, it's going to be me.
There you go.
And if anyone is going to change the trajectory of this society, it's going to be me.
Right.
Right? So one of the things that I learned in this whole process was the irresponsibility that I had and immaturity that I had that brought me to the places and caused me to do the things that I was doing, right? But to your point, it wasn't until I decided, you know what, Donald, out of all that's happening, the X factor is you.
Right.
You're in these relationships. You doing the dumb stuff. So you got to stop blaming everybody else, and you got to take responsibility for your own actions.
So okay. With that being said, and you said you took responsibility.
Yes.
What guarantees that Donald Morton does not go back? What guarantees that the next man, whatever he went through, through this remand project, that he doesn't go back? What do you teach?
Yes.
That keep them from falling back to the young boy.
For me, my wife asked, shout out to my wife Tiffany, that's my baby boy,
right?
And she rough,
right? Yeah, she's from Jersey.
She from Jersey. She's rough. And so she asked me one time that very question. Donald, what would keep you from stepping out on me? Because
she gonna cut you,
bruh. Is if you see in the paper Donald's dead, right? Tiffany did it, right? So she said, "Is it because you love me?" And I do. I adore that chick, right? But it's not that.
Right.
It's I finally reached a place. Remember, the first part of the definition of a man is a comprehensive accountability to God.
Right.
Right. So what makes maturity happen is when a man understands that he must be accountable to someone greater than himself.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And the greatest person I know to be accountable to is God. So it's not that I am afraid of Tiffany cutting me.
Right.
I honor God with my life. And when I found out just how many people were impacted negatively by the dumb decisions I was making, I decided to honor everyone who gave me a second chance, and even those who are rooting for my failure.
And that's the question I want. Look, that's the question I want to ask too. The rebound after that, the Donald, the how you rebounded after that situation, and then you looked up and now you got the love of your life.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like that's a hell of a rebound. What you say?
Absolutely, it is. But it does not come without major work, internal work that I had to do personally to prepare myself for a Tiffany.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And then also guys like you who didn't give up on me.
Right.
The Leroy Tices of the world, the Tamara Varellas of the world.
Yeah.
Those people that just did not give up on me. Yeah. They told me the truth.
Yeah.
But they didn't give up on me. I owe it to them to have a righteous lifestyle beyond the point that they gave me another shot.
I think the thing about it is, like, I remember when I read it, yo, you my man.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? It's funny that how people will hold you to the fire, but don't realize like the stuff that they did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People will take your name and they just looking. I believe people just on Facebook looking for dirt that they can find on somebody, but don't realize like the stuff that they just haven't been called on yet.
Here's what's funny. So I did a radio show recently, right? Mm-hmm. And the lady that had me on her show, she sent me an email, and this was what the email said: Dr. Morton. Now, this is all the stuff that you and I are talking about is years ago.
Let's put that out there first.
Okay. Years ago.
Because the way that it was written, it was like it happened last
yesterday.
night.
Right. Yeah. So it was years ago. And even years from the point that all that stuff was written, there are still people that are following my name and writing in letters to people that are having me on their show, telling them not to have me on the show. Still today. This just happened last week, right? So the lady fortunately said, Dr. Morton, I want to address this. So we're going to come on, and I'm telling you, I'm going to go ham. Right. Because her point was, the man has acknowledged it. He has embraced what he did. He's not making any excuses for it.
Right.
And you guys who we don't know your stuff, you still coming for the man after years?
Yeah.
Leave this alone, right?
Yeah.
But it keeps me humble. Right. It really, really does. It keeps me humble. And everyone who still spews that stuff, I love them. I genuinely do. I love them because I should not have been in the position in the first place.
And now look at the outcome. The outcome is like, yo, you called it on it. You learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely.
And now you're like, look, I'm going to build Donald.
Absolutely.
And now I'm going to help men.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's like the refiner's fire. A lot of people don't realize, one way that, and it's funny because I used to always say, everyone want to be like Jesus, right? Everybody want to be Christ-like. But no one want to have compassion. Absolutely. And the way that you have compassion is for you have to go through it to understand
to understand it.
Right, what it needs or what it fuels. And people don't realize that, like, how you going to be, you understand what alcohol is or what they go through if you never been one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, again, look, man, hats off, man. You my man to the end of time, man, till they put us in them boxes.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I mean?
Thank you,
and
man.
no matter, I don't give a dag what you did, because I probably did it with you.
and that's the deal. Many of the people who were crucifying me
don't know you.
No, they know me because they participated.
That's a whole other story.
And so the issue becomes, let's all just, the Bible says.
He said they participated.
They participated.
Right.
So the Bible says, when a brother is overtaken in a fault, you who are spiritual, restore that brother. So I do my best now, particularly, I've got degrees and all of that kind of stuff. But listen, I've been a man 50 years. Right? Yeah. So I know the propensities of men. Yeah. I know what we think about. I know why we think about it. And a part of what is happening in our society is there's no one investigating the male need.
Understood.
I call it the MVQ, the male value quotient. Right. No one is investigating. Everybody demonizes the differences. Right. So I bring to the table of my marriage what a man brings. Right. Tiffany brings to our marriage what a woman brings. Right. She's not married to her girlfriend. Right. She's married to a man. Right. Right. So a part of what we've got to do is stop demonizing the differences, embrace the differences, and allow a man the full expression of his manhood and a woman the full expression of hers.
There you go. There you have it. Tell people where they can find out more about the Remand Project.
They can find the Remand Project online at Remand Project online, www.remand.org, or they can look me up. I am Don Morton at all my social media handles are the same.
And you got a new YouTube channel that you started.
Yeah, man. So I want everybody to subscribe and find the Remand Project. I'm the 100th subscriber is going to get a special gift. We're not going to tell them what that gift is. Okay. But let them know that they heard me here, and they're going to get a special gift. I'm going to give them a mug. I'm going to give them a DETV. I'm going to give them a DETV. Hey, it's hot in here, man. I love this spot.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't wait to come back. You know, I'm doing a podcast with you.
Yeah. It's called the Remand Podcast.
It's called the Remand Podcast. Yeah. And so it's exciting things happening.
Man, today's conversation, it's really exciting because if you caught me for 8 years straight, but if you'd caught me 2 years ago, I was in the basement, and with a vision.
Right.
And you know what the Bible says about vision.
Absolutely.
Right? And the awesome thing about it is I have guys on my team with a vision.
Yes.
And it's the same vision. So when I told them, I'm like, I want to do this.
Yes.
These guys, look, it's 8:30 at night. Right. These guys jump right on it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They're like, let's get it. So I'm so grateful. I'm so honored that God trusts me with this. Sir. You know what I mean? Because now we can just look at this full circle.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I'm distribution.
Yes, sir.
You got the concept.
Yes, sir.
And we men that all messed up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
My cape ain't clean. My cape dirty as everybody else's.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I thank God for that, man. I thank God for you, good brother.
Bless you, man.
This episode of the One-on-One with Big Ive podcast is brought to you and sponsored by the Win Factory.
Yes.
Shout out to Tamara Varela for more information. Follow her on social media, Tamara Varela. Sure, if you need some working space, the Win Factory is the place. You want to hang around crazy creatives, the Win Factory is the place.
Absolutely.
The new place that's taking over Wilmington and giving you everything that you need to be an entrepreneur. So shout out to the Win Factory.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to the Remand Project.
Yes, sir.
And this is your man Ive, and I will see you on the other side of One-on-One with Big Ive.
Absolutely.
All right.